sunny spaces, smiling faces, happy places. But every sunny space holds a shadow. Behind every smile are sharp teeth, and every happy place has something sinister lurking just below the surface.
Welcome to We Saw the Devil, the podcast diving deep into the chilling realms of true crime. Join your host Robin as she unravels mysteries that have left investigators baffled and armchair sleuths obsessed. Be forewarned, dear listener. We Saw the Devil is not for the faint of heart. Our unflinching exploration will take you to the darkest corners of the psyche and through the unimaginable depths of human darkness to unearth stark secrets to the harsh light of day. Nothing will be left untouched. Are you ready? Are you sure? We saw the devil.
Hey y'all, it's Robin, and I am here with part 13 of the Chris Chan saga. This is probably the episode that I have personally been waiting for because it really shows kind of the moment where we had Chris Chan in high school. We had Chris Chan through the Megan Schroeder, the game place, all of that, the sweetheart search. We had Chris and the game place, the car assault in the last couple episodes. And then now we're pretty much hitting the point where we have old Chris Chan turns into new Chris Chan. We're covering 2014, and Chris has remained largely the same in a lot of ways, which we will get to, from early 2014 until now. So it's kind of like there's the old Chris, and then now we finally reached new Chris. And this is a lot of stuff happens in this episode, y'all. I am really excited about it. But other than that, how is everyone doing so far? It's the best month out of the year. I am so happy every single October. I don't know about you guys. I know that a lot of you have been listening to Iris and I shoot the sheet over horror movies and stuff like that we love. But every year I choose either a franchise in horror or just pick 30 movies to watch. And it's kind of my personal challenge. I've done it since I was like 13 years old. But yeah, so doing the 30 for 30 horror challenge, I have failed miserably thus far. I have only eked out The Nun 2. That's all I've watched so far, so I have some ground to cover. But do you guys have any sort of ritual or thing that you do every year to celebrate Halloween? And I'm a gamer, y'all. I think most of you know this. And so usually in Halloweens, I'll have like the first day of fall coincides with Assassin's Creed or a new Call of Duty coming out. Somehow it's always kind of worked like that, usually in the past. And so I will go get a 6-pack of Pumpkinhead by Shipyard, pumpkin beer. I will get a pack of Halloween Oreos, some stuff to make some sandwiches, head over to Starbucks and get a salted caramel ribbon crunch frap or whatever, and then game and relax and watch horror movies. And that's always every year my end of September to the first week of October kind of ritual. And guess what? The new Assassin's Creed comes out today. So please know that shortly after listening to this episode, I was enjoying Starbucks, Oreos, and the new Assassin's Creed. But yeah, I want to know what all of you guys do. Also, obviously, what you think of this particular episode, because it is kind of, I guess, one of the quote-unquote bigger ones in Christory. But leave a comment on the Instagram post for this episode, and let me know all of the above. So we left off episode 12. Chris has largely left YouTube. I haven't had a lot of audio clips for you or YouTube videos to post. So September of 2013, it's off pretty much with a bang because Chris is banned from the Walmart closest to his house. Why? Because he brought a permanent marker, basically a Sharpie, inside to deface the Xbox sign in the electronics department. If you remember, Chris hated Xbox and hated Microsoft. He's a PlayStation and Nintendo fanboy. So he drew an H and an E in front of Xbox, making it Hexbox. And of course, he got caught. And surely Chris would understand why they banned him from Walmart, right? Like, hey, you're defacing private property. That is actually a crime. And no, he didn't, because he immediately on September 6th went to Facebook to post, quote, "I have just been intercepted by the lady manager. The bitch has followed the steps of Mr. Snyder now. Banned me from the Walmart closest to my own house. She obviously does not understand how critical and imperative it is for me to go there. I shop for my mother from there. It is closer than the one in Charlottesville. Gas is expensive. She has crossed his line, and now I am out for revengeance. Everyone should contact her at the email address of, I'm not going to say it, and remind her that no one is to mess with an autistic person when they are in a depressed, sad, angry, or foul mood, especially with the online reputation that was dragged through the worst mud, muck, and bodily fluids that said autistic person has. She has proven herself to be a cold-hearted, uncaring, uncompassionate, lack of understanding, bigoted, discriminating, selfish, Mary Lee Walshing witch bitch. If anyone in the store sees this woman, tell it to her face that she is discriminative to autistic people, that she is a fat bitch, and that her life will be a massive cursed life like Snyder's if she and her white-coated assistant does not unban Christian Weston Chandler immediately. And my mother will have a loud, aggressive word with her as well if they meet. She is fired from life. It was quite the outburst on Facebook, and several of Chris's friends tried to be nice and explain to him that, hey, you're lucky that that's all that happened. You committed an actual crime, property destruction, and that could have had genuine repercussions. And Chris, in return, told them all that they were wrong, explained that he was getting mad at them, and that Walmart banning him was a crime in itself. Defacing property is not. Photos of Chris and Barb's home at 14 Branchland Court are leaked online at this point. Someone apparently did a drive-by and took pictures of the property, and it looked awful. It's a horrible mess. The grass is super high, the yard, everything is just covered in weeds and overgrowth, and no exaggeration, it's like 4 feet tall. There's trash all over the yard that's come out of the trash can. It's very, very, very clear that nothing in the exterior of the home had been tended to since Bob Chandler's passing, like 2 years prior. It was that bad. Chris then also goes on a crusade on Facebook to advocate for men wearing sports bras, and he posts various pictures of himself in sports bras. He creates a whole Facebook photo album that just contains pictures of random men and male models in bras. And showing that he's incredibly offended by male nipples, he shows the cover of the movie Magic Mike, where he'd used a Sharpie to cover all of the male's chests, and then he drew bras on top of that. Chris also apparently took up the hobby of voodoo because he uploaded pictures of these little voodoo boxes, he called them, that he built. He had little Lego people in there with the supposed likeness of like Megan Schroeder, Mary Lee Walsh, Mike Snyder, you know, all of the villains from his life, from his animated life that he believes in Quickville. They were inside of these little clear plastic boxes. And he explained that they were his voodoo and that he would shake the boxes whenever he would get angry at something that was their fault. Because don't forget, Chris thinks that every single bad thing that happens in his life is a result of Megan Schroeder being at the top, and then all of the trolls and everything that she supposedly controlled like a sorceress. In a Facebook post directed to Megan Schroeder, he said, quote, "You played me for a fool for years, making me spend and spend on you with borrowed money. You continuously had Mims and everyone else online humiliate me. I cannot ever find employment now because my background check has made me null and void with your damn internet troll army." For whatever reason, Chris doubles down on Megan at this time and, like I said, makes repeated posts about it on his Facebook. It's so obsessive that Rebecca, a troll who pretended to be one of Chris's high school gal pals, and that's the thing, the Chris Chan story, you guys, had grown just into epic proportions. Everyone, for the most part, knew, a lot of people knew about Chris, about the gal pals in high school, about how his dad, Bob, had paid people in middle school to be his friend, and people knew these girls' names. So trolls would pick these actual real people and pretend to be them, and then email Chris, like, "Hi, Chris, it's your, high school friend, Sarah." And then they would talk to him and befriend him, and they would use that as an N. So there was a troll named Rebecca who pretended to be one of Chris's high school gal pals, and she calls Chris out on it and his treatment of Megan, in hopes that he'll stop, leave this poor girl alone, and move on. Because don't forget, in the previous episode, Chris was sending death threats, telling people to come collect Megan and bring her to him, calling quite literally calling for her head, and then doxing her and posting her last known address to Facebook and social media, as well as naming her family and siblings. I mean, it was unhinged behavior. This is the kind of shit that people on So Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook groups and Girl Run Facebook groups, this is the kind of shit that shows up because it is terrifying. It's predatory, scary behavior. So Rebecca messaged her and told Chris that he needed to cut his shit. Then another troll pretended to be Megan Schroeder herself and called Chris out for the behavior, basically said that he was crazy, that none of that happened, and water under the bridge, please stop. And all it did was make Chris angrier at Megan Schroeder. And at that point, y'all, Chris hadn't talked to Megan Schroeder in 5 years. He had had nothing to do with Megan in like 5 years, going on 6 years. It's absolutely insane. On October 14th, he made a post about his home as well as his mom. He said, quote, 2 things. My jaw started squeaking an airy jig when I chew food. Internet search finds me with a TSJ disorder. My mother stresses me with her continuous rants about her damn miniature scabies flies, her suffering, the low finances here and shit. It's no wonder I ended up with jaw clenching towards TSJD. Second, I am considering online meeting women, and right now I need a hero of a woman to get me out of this mental hellhole of a fate I am forced to live at home. Blessing count, roof over my head, compassionate, sweet beagle dogs, hobby pursuit, whatnot. My mother and the trolls and God are all giving me grief and stress. My mother is a good person, but when she goes on and on and on about the bad news, rearranges things, yelling at me, talking down, I feel bothered. The troll Rebecca once again reached out to Chris, worried about his mother's scabies, and advises Chris to go to the doctor. The troll Rebecca was like, this is dangerous, this is unsafe, you need to check on this. Chris responds to her, and instead of actually addressing anything, he says, quote, I am a Cinderella and Rapunzel, trapped with the moral obligations and stress of caretaking and guarding of my small family and often being stuck forcibly due to financial problems and paranoia of the terrible people, causing me nightmares at times with school bus trips resulting in driving off the high freeway edges, flying to dive towards a cliff, water, another road, or whatever. I am troubled emotionally and mentally. And I desperately, but still picky, require my destined. God continues to mock me by not letting me have her in my life and not for long or ever. Sweetheart to be, to see me long after the eventualities. And if I don't find her soon, I may as well be one of those worthless, lack of purpose, premature death cases. It all really taunts and hurts me. I just do what I am able to do to help my mother get by one day at a time. And this is a downward spiral. People had not seen Chris really this depressed. So in November, the following month, Chris was in fact suicidal. A troll pretending to be another one of Chris's high school friends sent an email to another troll with that supposed email being leaked to Chris. And in that email, the person said it was, one of Chris's gal pals, basically said that she didn't actually like Chris, that she only felt bad for him. That's why they were friends with him. They were hired help. They said that, yes, he was annoying and he was bullied, but now he's incredibly creepy and it's gross. Again, all trolls were involved. That email was sent to Chris, and that just launched him off the deep end into a spiral of depression. In the beginning of December, Alec Benson Leary released a tour video of Chris's home. And this one is much more clear than the previous one, probably actually made on an iPhone instead of the PlayStation Eye that Chris had used for a lot of his stuff earlier on. And again, it is bad inside, worse than you can imagine. 100% an episode of the show Hoarders. In Chris's bedroom, it's just a mattress set. There's no sheets, no top, bottom sheets, nothing. Just a box spring and a mattress. No sheets. There's feces stains on that mattress, like in the middle of it. There's a huge poop stain. There's books and toys. There's only literally enough room for him to walk in and lay down on his bed. Every inch of the room is filled with stuff. And whereas in the past, Chris's house, it was cluttered. There was a lot of stuff. Chris's room itself wasn't that bad. And the smell, you guys, there was open feces on his mattress. And because Chris was posting repeatedly on Facebook at this time, again, primarily lamenting the fact that he couldn't find a sweetheart. So the troll, posing as his high school friend Rebecca, sent him an email asking Chris why he had such unbelievably and unrealistic high standards for women that he dated. And his email back to her is actually very telling as to how he views pretty much anything at this point, but particularly women, the LGBT community, which is incredibly important in this episode, the fact that he lost his virginity to a sex worker, etc. So Chris wrote her back on December 16th, 2013. He said, I have tried a social group before, but that was not much help to me. Plus, currently, I don't read as many books as I used to. I'm on a TLDR, too long didn't read mindset, because unless I have the energy to really concentrate, I can't really grasp it. Anything self-help, and I have tried videos as well. It is too long a transition between viewing it, trying to absorb it, my mental threads going askew, and any next time out of the house. Even at the moment, if I was watching a video or reading something of the self-help on location through Wi-Fi or something, ritualistic routine mindset and all of paranoia and fears just outweigh anything else. It's as if I need it knocked into my senses or something at that exact precise moment. You don't have to tell me about the stereotypical, maybe shallow women and how attractive they are. That only weighs in further into my fear of every woman being taken by some damn male. I have a personal hatred for 99% of the worldwide population of my own gender. I often find myself disgusted at my own penis, as well as thinking, I wish I was born female with the possibility of being a lesbian, or something like that. I find the males most ugly, offensive, horrendous, crazy, creepy, and all that shit. Most of the damn trolls are damn homosexual males. I really loathe them, especially when they push their damn lifestyle into my face, and even just imagining it makes me throw up. I am most definitely straight, and I take great offense when anyone dares mislabel me otherwise. It pisses me off. Sarah dared considered me on the mislabel, even back in high school. Ugh. I apologize. One of my faults. A button gets pressed on the most offensive hot topic. I get emotionally carried away. Do not get me started on the damn trolls. I was happy after years of depression until Sarah blurted to Mims about how she, Tiffany, and others were not friends but hired help, followed by her telling me directly that Tiffany found me creepy and offensive and did not want to ever be anywhere near me. It all just totally re-devastated me. Worse, I am unable to feel even remotely happy without feeling the heartache again now. At least there will be a 15-year reunion, thanks to me. Sad that I will be a most depressed, lonely wallflower going there. I often ask myself, is this dead end of a life in a cluttered house with my mother, without a sweetheart, in over our heads and in debt, how is this my life? I don't know why I'm telling you all of this. I have a feeling that you are a genuine, caring woman who listens and keeps it confidential. I pray you will not betray me as well, by not telling any troll or whoever else any of this, leading towards even more degrading mockery and shit. Sigh. On December 16th, Chris places his whole porn cache up for sale. There are a total of 54 porn DVDs, and he was looking to sell them for $1,000 in cash, which is a lot for crusty porn DVDs. When Kim Wilson asked him about it, Chris actually admitted and said yes, the Chandler household was having financial stress. And this is the first talk of Chris and Barb running into money issues. And their financial woes would get far worse only a few weeks later when on January 10th, 2014, tragedy struck. Chris was downstairs in the bathroom using the Keurig coffee machine. Yes, you heard me correctly. Chris was making himself a cup of coffee in the one functioning bathroom in the Chandler home. Except the Keurig was powered via an extension cord that was plugged into a socket in another room. That's how bad the hoarding situation was. There was no room on any surface for even a small Keurig. So the Keurig was kept and used in the bathroom and the sink, and the extension cord went to a free socket in a different room entirely. So with the constant opening and closing of the bathroom door, it had pinched and eventually frayed the extension cord, and it ended up sparking, catching fire. Seeing as though the entire house was basically like a box of fiber and kindling, the fire started and grew very quickly. Chris made the 911 call at 2:44 a.m., and 4 nearby fire stations were notified. The first fire truck arrived 15 minutes later. And they couldn't even enter through either the front door or the back door because of the severity of the hoarding situation. The doors were all completely blocked, so they had to break through a window and go in that way to fight the fire. Over the course of the next 5 hours, the fire would rage, and at one point, it was totally out of control with fire shooting through the roof. A medic is actually brought to the scene due to a firefighter sustaining minor injuries from the blaze. At around 5:30 a.m., Chris makes a Facebook post about the fire, telling everyone what happened. He says they were able to grab his mother's medication and also his wallet, but that everything was gone. By 5:57 a.m., all units on scene were authorized to return to their stations. Chris, Barb, their 2 puppies, and one of their 2 cats were able to escape the blaze and make it to a neighbor's home. One cat perished in the fire. It didn't take long for Chris to focus his sights on Keurig. A little after 7 a.m. that exact morning, just 2 hours after the last fire unit left his home, Chris posted an angry comment to Keurig's Facebook page, blaming the faulty wiring in the product for creating the spark that created the fire. And a bunch of Chris's Facebook friends and people even on Keurig's Facebook page spoke out against Chris for making such allegations without any sort of evidence whatsoever. Over the next week, Chris ends up making requests for donations. And y'all, the troll community came together hard on this one. People emailed and messaged Chris their condolences, asked how they could help, etc. Joshua Moon, username Null, one of the major trolls and admins of the Quickie forums, organized a care package to be sent to Chris and Barb. The trolls didn't want to send just straight cash, like straight money, for fear that Chris would misspend it. So they did several things, and they sent it all in a large FedEx box. The note inside from the trolls said, "Hey Chris, your Finachu friends have heard about the house fire, and to help you, we put together a care package as quick, CWC, as we could. In a few days, 34 donated and collected over $900 towards getting this stuff out to you. Since your bathroom is where it started, I focus on buying toiletries and hygienic stuff to keep you clean and healthy as you recover from the damages. I could not spend all the money collected, so I've also included a money order for $500 that you should give to your mother. She can cash it out and buy whatever you guys need to keep chugging. Don't forget to get something nice for your pets, too. I know you often feel that life is hopeless, but there's good in this world and in people. I hope this package helps you see that. No person on the internet can ever take away your right to be happy. You must find reasons to enjoy life, even when there are enemies trying to bring you down. I've included some arts and crafts to help you take your mind off of things. I think your fans would really like to see what you come up with because it's been a very long time since we've seen anything new from you. Try to create something that makes you happy and that you can be proud of. Good luck with everything, Chris. Keep hate out of your heart and look forward to each day. We will be around if you need us." The trolls had collected almost $1,000 worth of stuff, from a $500 money order to staples like shampoo and soap, deodorant, gift cards to Applebee's, Burger King, and IHOP. They specifically gave them gift cards to restaurants knowing they didn't have access to, full groceries. But they also sent snacks, food, vitamins, including a one-a-day vitamin for Barb, art supplies, and random things like markers, paints, modeling supplies, and even treats for both the dogs and the cat. So Chris and Barb received the package, and you'd think that they would be elated and over the moon, right? Especially Chris, who had been victimized so heavily, and then here is this amazing gesture. Chris had always just wanted friends or fans or people to care about him. But no. He saw the money order and mistakenly believed that since Null hadn't signed it, that it couldn't be cashed. So Chris's first post in response to receiving this package wasn't a thank you. It was this, quote, "Hey, Dodo Brain, thanks a lump. You did not sign the front of the money order that came in the big box. The bank is unable to do anything with it. Contact your bank or make out a new thing and mail it to our home address." Utterly shocked by Chris's hostile response, Null went to his bank and confirmed that Chris could indeed cash that check and that his signature was unnecessary. And so after Null relayed that information to Chris Chris deleted his original Facebook post and replaced it with a Facebook post thanking everyone, but he says that he still wants the quickie to be taken down. So he said, quote, "Update. Scratch my recent post. The big box of stuff Daniel Mims has informed me about has just been delivered to me and my mother. She got really excited. Big thank you to everyone involved in that care package. The damn quickie site still needs gravely to be removed forever. Also, thank yous for the $25 Visa card, shirt, cap, sketch pad, markers, and the $40 cash received at State Farm yesterday from those two addresses of people. Have a very good and safe day." Starting the very night that Chris makes this post, the quickie did in fact magically go offline for several days. Then people began to notice something strange. Chris was online gaming again on all of the original gaming systems that he'd previously had, like PlayStation, Nintendo, all of it. Apparently, the fire was bad, but not so bad that it destroyed all of the Chandler belongings. Most of Chris's artwork and his electronics actually survived the fire, but Chris didn't tell anyone that. Instead, he kept repeatedly asking for money and donations, even though he was seen wearing old clothing and playing brand new, newly released games. The insurance company had provided a rental home for Chris and Barb while the home on Branchland Court was being repaired. And so that's where they were living at the time, and Chris was just repeatedly asking for donations on Facebook. Then the allegation of shoplifting. Someone posted in the Quickie forums that they work at the local Best Buy there in Charlottesville, and that Chris had come into Best Buy and got caught shoplifting Lego-themed collectibles. Of course, no one knows really what to believe on the internet, but Chris, being Chris, came to the post to defend himself, stating that a loud black woman confronted him, but he had already purchased what he was pocketing. April and May of 2014 brought the Lego movie being released, as well as a new Lego game. And this became Chris's new obsession, and he made repeated Facebook posts begging people for donations or even just to buy the Legos for him directly. Chris also begins to sell random things from the Chandler household, like Bob's old violin, random paintings, and lamps. And don't forget the fact that right after the fire, Barb, it was leaked in an email between Chris and a couple, trolls. Barb Chandler had actually accused a firefighter of stealing her purse as well as a knockoff painting. But at this time, Chris starts selling stuff, and he even lists Finachu and Rosechu artwork on eBay, but trolls immediately swamped the listings and raised the price from like $100 buy it now to $10,000, $13,000, and $15,000. Thus prompting eBay to repeatedly suspend the listings as well as Chris's accounts. And Chris went through multiple different instances of his account being suspended. Then the big event with the Manchester high school leaks. With the Chandler's OG home on Branchland Court being in repair, the fire, the mediation, all of that, the Chandlers were not staying there. So some trolls decided to make an actual physical trip to the home. They dumpster dived in the dumpster outside of the house of the burned down Chandler household and salvaged what they could. And I say burned down, but it wasn't burned down. The fire damage actually wasn't that bad. The home was still salvageable and was repaired. That just being said, they did go through the dumpster and they actually found papers that had fire and water damage. And it was a lot of Chris's work from his junior year of high school. And that's the thing throughout the Chris Chan saga, all of the sagas, there's like 30 of them now. Some of it is benign. Some of it is super mean-spirited. Sometimes the trolls are trying to help Chris. Sometimes trolls are legitimately trying to befriend him and help him. Sometimes they come together in times of Chris's need. But in every instance, there's always a case of trolls that go too far. A troll flying into Charlottesville, Virginia from out of state to go dumpster diving to see what they can find out of the Chandler house is way too far. That kind of crosses the line. In April, a series of emails between Chris and Kim Wilson were leaked onto the website Kiwi Farms. Chris sent Kim an email about how he felt like his face was creepy and ugly and turning off women. Kim responded that his face wasn't so much the issue, but that his long hair was unruly, unkempt, didn't look clean, and probably was a turnoff to women. She then tells him to be respectful and just not give up the fight. A few days later, Chris responds to Kim in an email where he relays a new talent that he didn't previously know that he had. And y'all, on Saturday, April 19th, 2014, at 11:04 p.m., Chris wrote Kim Wilson, quote, "A new feat. I have just randomly done something that would normally be useless and trivial, and it would be something that would be more often done in a dream. But I actually did it, and I felt I needed to tell someone who would keep it confidential and possibly be interested. Right now, I am telling only you in confidence. Warning, it is obscene, and I mean no offense. I have reached from behind and under and pulled my penis and literally stretching it to being wedged between the middle of my butt crack. I could push the head into the hole, but it was really smelly there, and I have just bathed. And while stretched, the balls can remain tucked in, and I can walk like this. It is that long. And to take a cocky opportunity, you and a lot of women around here and wherever, not counting the Cherokee woman, are really missing out. Thank you for listening and keeping it confidential. On second thought, I give you permission to only tell other women about it, only if you feel it valid for the conversation." End quote. What the fuck? Like, hey, by the way, you can tell K-Chem, you can tell other women if you think it's valid to that conversation you're having that I can put my dick in my ass. Thanks. And don't even lie, you guys. I know where your mind went because my mind went there too, and that's Silence of the Lambs and Buffalo Bill. Kim kept the reply calm and respectful and advised Chris that he shouldn't give up his search in finding a sweetheart. Chris, clearly trying to steer their conversation into one about transgender women, asked Kim, "I will ask you in response though, are any of your tranny friends able to attract any women their way? I don't think it appropriate to shout out loud, 'How many women here wants to go Sex in the City on me?'" Kim ignored that question. In another email, Chris then lists out his in-between, positive, and negative traits. On the in-between side, Chris lists, amongst other things, tomgirl, lesbian-identified male, was likely a lesbian woman in a past life, and the ugly growth and the autism are my punishment of that past life. I reasonably, firmly believe that theory. I am also a tranny. On the positive list, he included genuinely empathetic and emotional and caring and compassionate, creative, imaginative, artistic, intelligent, graduated with good to high grades in high school and college, which, by the way, was in fact a lie, likes lesbians, cool with bisexuals, cool with trannies of all kinds, but would never date any who have had the gender change operation, as well as males. I believe rainbows are the symbol for unity. Really hate the damn gay males for taking a rainbow and destroying its original beauty in the name of their ways. It pisses me off. Ugh. My dogs, cat, and mother love and care about me. And this is a huge moment in Christory, y'all. Chris finally came out, even just here at this point, just to his friend, Kim. But he comes out as a lesbian-identified male. And Chris's view on gender and his gender identity is actually fascinating. And I feel like we could see a glimpse of it way back into high school. Chris was always open about the fact that a penis made him very uncomfortable. He never felt like, even before he got all grody and nasty on his sweetheart search, like right around the time that he was becoming a predator, he did admit that it always made him uncomfortable and he didn't like it. And he felt like he was wrong for being born a male. So this has always been kind of in Chris's psyche. He tested with the tomgirl stuff. At this point, he had been a tomgirl for 2 years. He had more recently started wearing skirts. He was wearing women's underwear, which he had been doing that since high school, sneaking his mother's Barb's underwear and wearing it, which is so disturbing considering now we're in 2023 and knowing that. But this has always been a thing with Chris, so it should come as no surprise here. In May, Chris asked Kim to take over his OkCupid account and help him find girls. He asked for her to write the introductory messages to all of his matches since he thought that she may leave a better initial impression. But Chris ends up chastising Kim for messaging a girl who Chris deemed too fat. Kim chastised him right back a little bit and said, hey, you don't need to judge people solely based on appearance, and you need to keep your doors open. You're no, quote, skinny mini yourself. And Chris got so upset and offended by that and argued with Kim. And Kim was like, look, bro, you're no catch. You're not going to get the, quote, pick of the litter of women available in your area. The chick that I'm messaging isn't even incredibly overweight. She's not fat. And you are not in shape yourself. So, like, stop being a prick. Chris basically said, okay, but don't match me with obese girls. And I am not fat. And he got really, really offended. But once Kim said, hey, okay, fine, I'm not going to help you anymore, Chris backed down. So in June, a troll by the name of Skyraider91 began to post the scans of Chris's homework and assignments from his junior year at Manchester High School. And we're talking like 1998, 1999. They scanned each page individually, and they had a lot of uploads. There are a couple dozen pictures of his assignments, work pages, teacher feedback. If you go to the Quickie, you can see all of them as they were originally uploaded, and there are dozens of them. And Chris didn't always receive good grades. In fact, he failed a lot of projects. But also, teachers would unjustly give him good grades, ignoring bad grammar, wrong answers, and all of that stuff. Overall, that might seem really benign. Okay, so some of the teachers felt pity for him and gave him good grades on work that didn't deserve it. But most of all, it was a time where Chris was able to put in minimal effort and he was still allowed to succeed. No one, at any point in his life, held him to a higher standard. So during this time in high school, Chris was actually very capable. He was way more capable than he was at this point here that we're discussing in 2014. He was quirky and a bit odd, but overall he was totally harmless. He wasn't hypersexualized, he wasn't creepy. He was the special needs kid who just wanted to sit at your lunch table, talk about Pokemon and Sonic the Hedgehog, and feel liked. He wasn't the inappropriate sexual predator he became in college and after. And have you wondered why Chris's gal pals, what happened to them from high school? Well, they existed because Chris's father, Bob, had made an arrangement with the principal. The girls were either given extra credit or assigned time for volunteer work for working with a disabled person. I mean, all for just pretending to be friends with Chris. And in middle school, Bob had flat out paid a high school girl to spend time with Chris and pretend to be his friend. So Chris got so many free passes from his parents not helping him with autism when he was a child, not getting him to the correct school, not the right therapy. They wouldn't really let him even be in special needs classes when they could get away with it. Bob Chandler, instead of trying to assist Chris with therapy and social skills, just paid girls to follow Chris around and pretend to be his friend. Same thing in high school, except the principal of the school was apparently in on it as well, helping Chris have a social life with friends and people to come to his birthday parties and so forth. And then he was given a lot of the time passing or decent grades just because no one wanted to deal with it. So a paper with horrible grammar, no points, oversharing, had nothing to do with the assignment, would occasionally get A's and good and passing grades, just moving Chris right along. Because Chris got so many free passes from, the school, his friends, the parents, and eventually the fucking criminal justice system, all of this kind of created this sort of narcissistic monster who truly believes that he is above everything. He is invincible. Anything that he does or says is gospel, and he is always in the right. And we see this through the GameStop stuff. We see this through the sweetheart search. We see it through the fire and how Chris is just entitled. And we see it through everything. But the month of July was a very busy one for Chris. He began selling autographed pictures of himself, as well as offering up commissioned artwork. And in return, he started to wear a huge Finachu medallion again, which he hadn't worn in the last few years. And y'all, people were actually buying his artwork, and they were buying the autographs, the autographed pictures of Chris. Chris was offering signed merchandise, and of course, a lot of trolls wanted it, if not nothing more as a joke. I mean, Chris was famous at that point, selling autographs $25, $50 a pop, so they bought it. He did a drawing of Finachu and Rosechu, and remember, those are his classic characters, and back in the day, people would make Finachu and Rosechu gay, And there was a ton of random fan art, whether sent to the Quickie or on DeviantArt, where they actually gave Rose Chew, which is a female Sonichu, gave her a penis and then portrayed Sonichu and Rose Chew having anal sex. Well, Chris decided to step in front of that and nip that in the bud before it started again by making a random Facebook post that said, quote, "And in case you were paying attention, the Raichu tail is female, just as the Rose Chew that transformed from the original female Raichu has always been and will always be vagina, ovaries, C-cup, milking breasts with tits and all." As you can tell, Chris was very committed to Rose Chew and Raichu's genders. Now, y'all, here's the thing. Everyone knew Chris's eBay account, and people could see the things that Chris was buying. He was spending hundreds of dollars on Lego sets and figurines. Almost $200 alone, $190 on a Sailor Moon box set. And it seemed that for every item that he sold, he was buying some sort of video game related collectible or art or item in return. So imagine how people felt when Chris made a post begging for money, saying that he had to pay for Barb's cavities. He said, "Please help us here. I am serious about it. Plus my mother and I have bills to pay and we need the money for real. Now I even do not have money to ship more to my recent orders. I did raise over 2 G's last month, but that money was spent on bills, the printer ink, cartridges, shipping all of the orders from the past month, some Lego, and food for my family, so don't give me doubt on my honesty. My mother seriously has cavities in her teeth, and I sincerely want to help pay for her required dental work. And we have bills to pay the usual income just cannot cover." And that's after he had made $2,000 for the month. Not only that, but he had his tugboat, his Social Security, which is at least another $1,000 a month. So that would be $3,000 in income in 1 month. Following up that post, Chris asked his followers to buy him a $100 My Little Pony trading card. And when there were no takers and no friends stepped up to buy this $100 trading card of My Little Pony, Chris made a Facebook post entitled "Long Diatribe" about how people were selfish. And finally, and this is where we're going to leave on this episode, y'all. Finally, on August 14th of 2014, Chris officially came out as transgender in a Facebook post. He uploaded 2 logos from the group The Human Rights Campaign, and the comment that he left on his own profile picture was, quote, "As a tomgirl, intersex of female soul with male body, and a tranny crossdresser, I am in full support for human equal rights for everyone." A couple hours later, he made another post that said, "I am a lesbian-identified man and a cross-dressing tranny. My mother is still old-fashioned and putting me down on how other people would perceive me in a short skirt getting away discreetly in a short skirt recently. I received multiple compliments from the women. I wish she would ease up on me and let me have my freedom to flirt the skirt." The next day, Chris uploads a new Facebook photo of himself with purple eyeliner. He had shaved his chest and tried to create cleavage. And his hair, as always, looked a hot mess. He commented on this picture and said, "I just sorted it out how to best nutshell the details. I hardly get along with males at all, not counting being civil. I get along better with female. Totally. I hardly identify myself with the barbarian and stereotypical males at all. I identify best with the feminine ways, emotions, empathy, and about everything else. I get disgusted with the damn dicks, including my own. I want to shove my face into the big hole below the urethra known as the beautiful vagina very much. I am feminine on the inside, male on the outside. My feminine soul is most attracted and aroused by women and their superior beauty. Male bodies are horrendous and most offensive to me. Talk about going from the middle to hell's deep on the beauty and ugly thermometer. Female and male on female and female equals lesbian-identified man. No more questions." Chris was obviously pretty heated in that Facebook post, so a couple hours later, he had calmed down and said, quote, "Just to keep it clear on the topic, I am a male lesbian intersex transgender. You can Google lesbian-identified male for more info on the subject. I am most sincerely into women, and I am female in my soul. If you still persist, read my extensive response in the comments of the post above. I am fully supporting human rights equality, regardless of my own emotions of some people, and I am fully supporting same-sex marriage as well in that same regardless. Please do not ask me any questions. Just feel glad that I am on your side now and from now on the issues. Thank you. The next day, on August 16th, Chris responded to the people who were questioning his coming out as a lesbian-identified male. His friend Kim Wilson, the troll, and even other people were like, bro, I looked up lesbian-identified male, like, what is it? And Chris said, quote, listen, everyone. I ask for no further inquisitions of my own personal change of opinions and my fullest coming out as a lesbian-identified male and cross-dressing transgender. Dead set on women, and with respect to them as well. This is another huge reason why I do not like the majority of the male population. The lot of you are not satisfied with the face value details, and you people continue to keep pushing buttons until you get a response. I am a most caring and tolerating person of other people's feelings, regardless of your own misperceptions fabricated as early as 2007 of myself. My closest friends and allies that I actually personally know truly better understand me and most caring and respectful about my being a lesbian and a tranny. I no longer am going to care so easily for the opinions of the lot of you. I used to care, and that has hurt me mentally and emotionally very harshly, but not anymore. You all can just go ahead and call me gay, meaning stupid, dumb, or homo, because I am homo for women, and none of you are going to ever change who I am there. Go ahead and give out my phone number, email, and all of that shit, because I will never respond to any of you haters as hazers. My closest friends and allies mean a heart and a soul full to me more than any of you strangers, because I will never even have been remotely familiar with any of you before 2007. And very likely I never will have the displeasure of even making your acquaintance in person ever. And this is the last time I will ever say anything in response to your shitful and hurtful comments and hatred for hate's sake. And on that note, Chris must have had a fairy godmother, because all of a sudden, this is who he was. And this is everything was kind of leading up to this point, but this really becomes Chris's identity and personality. And there's a lot to unpack here as we continue through this story. But that's it for today, guys. Again, just throwing it out there, I'm covering highlights from the Chris Chan case. Here's how I see this. I'm covering highlights. If you want a quite literal day-by-day, play-by-play of Chris Chan's life, go to the Quickie. That's the CWCKI. From there, you can read every single email, basically, that Chris has ever sent or received, his AOL chats, every video that he's ever been in, every single one. Even if you don't care about Chris Chan as a whole, you guys have to see the Quickie, because it is rather incredible that this amount of information exists about a single human being. It's just a shame that it couldn't be about someone that was important or made a difference in the world. But I digress on that. But the way I see it is, for the most macro view on Chris Chan is the Quickie. Then you have Gino Samuel's documentary, The Comprehensive History. There's over 70 episodes. He really goes into a lot of the story, and it's a wonderful documentary. I'm telling everyone, if you're really interested in the Chris Chan series and kind of in a consumable media, watch The Comprehensive History and go episode by episode. It's chronological, and it is wonderful. And then for me, I'm just giving you the overall highlights to keep you guys engaged in the story. So again, that's kind of how I'm seeing this. Watch The Comprehensive History documentary on YouTube. And then if you really want to dig in deep and see a day-by-day play-by-play, as well as all the videos and everything in an easily, Wikipedia-like format, the Quickie. But that's it for today, guys. Next episode is going to be Iris returning. We're going to talk The Nun 2 and then The Conjuring 3 and what we're doing for Halloween. Next week, I'm also going to put out a new episode update on the Suzanne Morphew case. I've been going back through the Suzanne Morphew case. I reread the 132-page arrest affidavit of Barry Morphew, the original one before the charges were eventually dismissed. There are some questions. It's actually really fascinating. I'm so happy for the discovery of Suzanne Morphew's remains. That one was one that just really sincerely, truly disturbed me. So I went back and Suzanne's remains being discovered where they were, and then the comment that family and friends have made, There are a lot more questions than answers, so I actually do have an update episode in the Suzanne Morphew case coming next week. It'll be wild if Barry Morphew is rearrested for that. Don't forget, there is no double jeopardy in this case, so if there is evidence, Barry Morphew can be arrested again and recharged. And as always, I want to know what you think of the Chris Chan saga thus far, so leave your comments on Instagram. We Saw the Devil podcast. Until next crime.